has now seen me drink. You know, not very often, but he's seen me drink back in the day, and he's seen me drunk, and he's seen me in some silly ways. But my 11-year-old will probably go the rest of his life now not seeing me drink. And my daughter who's 7, she won't remember me drinking, and definitely my youngest will never even know that I've drunk. So I'm hoping in my head, you know, and I'm giving them a gift.
Welcome to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. My name is Lee Davey. I am not an alcoholic and I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone that doesn't drink alcohol, and I spend every waking moment of my life helping other people do the same, like right now. How you doing, folks? I hope everything is okay. I am currently in Los Angeles still, although I'm getting more confident about jumping on a plane and going back to the UK. I believe people are doing that now. So I think I'll go back there and see my son for a month. And I think I'm going to do that pretty quickly because I have a feeling that maybe in the future there may be another lockdown. Yesterday, I went to Laguna Beach, Saturday and Sunday went to Laguna Beach. My in-laws were at a timeshare there, so we went to spend some time with them. And as we were driving through to get to the timeshare, it astounded me the sheer number of people who were walking around and didn't have a mask and were sitting basically right on top of each other in restaurant, and were just standing in lines right next to each other in restaurants. And I said to Liza, am I missing something here? Like, has this been a big joke? Have I been hiding in the house for 3 months, and in reality, the world has just been going on as normal? And it was very, very strange. On Saturday night, we actually stayed in a hotel, and my wife, me, and my 3-year-old daughter, we were the only ones in the hotel wearing masks, and it felt very odd. I guess it felt a little bit like when you are the only person in a pub who doesn't drink alcohol. You feel uncomfortable, like there's something wrong with you, like you are a defective or a bit weird in some way. And, you know, those feelings were going through my mind, and also going through my mind as well. And this is to do with, you know, what's going on with the Black Lives Matter thing that's going on at the moment, you know, is being the only Asian people in the hotel when everyone else was white. It just made me feel a little bit apprehensive for the first time since I was a kid. I haven't had to worry about being half Chinese since I was a kid, because, you know, it's never really affected me in my adulthood, really. But I started to think about it a lot. I'm reading a lot more about it, and I watched the documentary on Netflix 13 the other day, and yeah, I'm starting to think about this whole thing a lot. And I wrote a big lengthy post about it on Stride the other day, just emptying my thoughts around coronavirus, return to normal, Black Lives Matter, you know, and my thoughts around racism and prejudice and confirmation bias. And I think it's really important in this day and age, in this time, that we do spend some time kind of trying to understand what's going on, because it will help our dialogue a lot more. So I even told my boy Jude this morning, look, you know, watch this Netflix documentary 13, you know, just watch it, just so you could be a little bit more aware about the history of what's going on at the moment and the conversation that's going on at the moment. So if my boy is caught in a conversation with somebody in work or something, that he can better handle himself in that conversation because he's more aware. And with something as divisive as what's going on in the world right now, you know, I listened to a Sam Harris podcast the other day, pulling us, can we return from the brink or something it was called. And he starts out by saying that the tragedy of what's going on right now is we can't talk about what's going on right now. Because if you don't agree 100% with everything that is coming out of the Black Lives Matter megaphone, so to speak, using that as a metaphor, then people are just too quick to call you a racist. So, and that's a shame, because I think that we should be able to air our uncultured, very human views and talk to people about our state of confusion around all this. And in talking about our state of confusion around this, I think what will happen is we will start to refine and understand our belief systems around what is going on. We will be able to understand how affected we are by prejudice. We will be able to understand our history a little bit better. We'll be able to understand our confirmation bias. And that will help us to communicate more effectively. And I'm reading a book called The Globalization of Addiction at the moment. And it talks about, they use Vancouver as an example of free market society, I suppose, capitalism, being at the crux of all forms of addiction. So they talk about the Brits arriving in Canada, completely, massacring the native North Americans, destabilizing them, ripping them out of their culture, not allowing them to have a culture, just changing their lives irrevocably, right? And then what happens as a result of that influence is a mass dislocation. And the author of this book says that throughout history, you will see these forms of dislocation occur, and these forms of dislocation lead to addiction. So, if you think back to what went on in the slavery era, that was a mass form of dislocation. Black people didn't come to America, they were dragged to America, right? So that dislocation, that loss of your culture, your heritage, your humanity, leads to addiction. And in Loosening the Grip, the 9th edition, so you're talking, stats going back to 2004, so be very mindful of that. I've actually ordered the newest edition, which is 2019. But reading the 2004 stats, Black people and Native Americans were drinking more heavily than white people and other peoples of color, with the Asian population right at the bottom of that. Okay, like they're the ones who don't drink as much. Whites drink more than any other color, but it's blacks and Native Americans who get more fucked up than anybody else. And this I'm starting to feel strongly, has a very, very heavy link with dislocation. And alcoholism, the invisible, violent, dominant belief system, is an aspect of that dislocation. And it is non-relational. Okay, it is non-relational. Alcoholism is non-relational. Dislocation is non-relational. So we have to improve our relational literacy. We need to get better at talking about these things and understanding these things. We need to get better about talking kindly and compassionately to ourselves, and we need to be better at doing that to other people. And you need to practice. And if you don't feel comfortable going onto Facebook or going to talk to your family or going to talk to your friends about these issues right now, then you need to find somewhere where you can. And 1000 Days Sober is a beautiful place to do that. So, for example, I could not talk to my parents about Black Lives Matter. I could not talk to them about it because it would be very difficult for me not to hold an opposing view to them and to get into an argument. I just would not be able to have that rational discourse. Yet I feel a lot stronger that I can have that rational discourse on Strive because I trust people, because I'm dealing with people who are more like-minded and understand the need for us to be vulnerable and to see this conversation starter as a gift, to talk about how we feel about coronavirus, to talk about how we feel about racism, to talk about how we feel about the marches and the protests. I think it's a gift because it allows other people to take the heat down on the thoughts that are currently marinating and reaching boiling point inside their own heads and inside their own hearts. Okay, so if you're struggling right now, come over to 1000 Days Sober and come have a chat with us. We're not offering a free month anymore at 1000 Days Sober. Reason being, people join the free month and very few people get involved in anything. It doesn't work. Like, I'm sorry. I tried this over the years. It doesn't work. Whenever I give anything away for free, it really doesn't work. So we're going to go back to charging people £40 a month for it. But so get over to www.1000dayssober.com and sign up today. We can really help you become people that don't drink alcohol. We give you support system through Strive and that community aspect. We improve your education around alcoholism and the truth about alcohol through the 1000 Days Sober experience. Those 6 phases: stuck, thought, ready, initiative, vigilance, and enlightenment. Yeah, that's our Strive model for change. And we will help you to become people that don't drink alcohol by watching 3 lessons a week and doing next steps on those. We're also going to be giving you access to our Strive coaches and Strive ambassadors, online workshops for free. And we're going to be creating a plethora of online workshops that are going to be an addendum towards a 1000 Days Sober experience. We are going to charge money for those. And if you're a 1000 Days Sober member, we're going to be giving you up to 50% off those. All right. So it's really worth joining. £40 a month. It is not a cost. It is an investment because we will save you thousands in money that you would have otherwise spent on alcohol. So what else have I got to say? We just switched the 1000 Days Sober podcast from SoundCloud to Podbean. So get over to Podbean and download that app, and you can comment and interact with me there. Or if not, just send me an email at truthboutalcohol@gmail.com and have a chat with me, and we can make that happen. Okay. Let me know if you want me to get a particular guest on. Let me know if you want to come on, and let me know any feedback. I really appreciate it. Get over to Instagram, 1000 Days Sober Instagram, and also YouTube, 1000 Days Sober YouTube. We've got a lot of great videos coming out there, courtesy of the Strive team. We're getting our noggins together, thinking about a subject, and we're putting out a video. So get over there. You'll really enjoy that. Last but not least, I'm writing a book. Yep, I am writing a book. So I'll let you know when that is out, and you can buy that and wrap your head around that. Okay, so on to our guest today. Oh, before I get on to our guest, I want to welcome Ashley, don't I? Yeah, I do. So Ashley is from America, but she's currently in the UK, but she's on her way back to America. She got stuck there in lockdown. Ashley is one of those people who took advantage of our 3-month, really got stuck in, became an instant hit with the community, and she's now joined as a paid member. So Ashley, welcome to Strive, official welcome to Strive and the 1000 Days Sober experience. I know you're going through a super, super, super tough time right now. And I just want to say that we're there for you, that we're going to pour all of our love into you and all of our presence and hold space for you for as long as you need it. I hope everything works out with you, with your husband, you move, everything, okay? And your mother-in-law, everything, Ashley, okay? We're here for you, all right? Now, on to our guest, Lee Bonington. He's currently on Instagram as a sober runner. Quite like what he's doing there. He's sober now, so he's running. He's a bit like, what's that guy? Forrest Gump. He's just running around the place, sweating his balls off, talking about sobriety. And this is what he said about himself. He said he's the proud father of 4 children. Teddy, Henry, Florence, and Ralph, 18, 11, 6, and 4. So he's very busy. He's married to his long-suffering wife, Alexis. He lives in a little town called Wickford in Essex, and he's a project manager for a fire protection company. He was born in the East End of London in a town called Dagenham, and he was one of 4 kids. He said his life has basically revolved around drinking like most people in the UK and probably the world. So it's all he's ever known. And he said he knew from an early age what sort of person he knew he wanted to be. But like most people, he got deterred away from that. And he's led to believe that pubs, lads, holidays, working just to work and pay for those holidays is the norm. He said he used to drink most occasions that occurred in his life for good news, bad news, football. He would drink to open an envelope, he said. Now I would not put myself in the same bracket as alcohol-dependent people, meaning I would not need a drink daily, But I would say that socially, I would need a drink. He was a gray area drinker, he says, for most of his adult life. When he hit his 30s, he did start noticing changes in his behavior. After he'd had a night out and a skinful, it didn't seem to sit right with him anymore, and he knew it was time for him to stop. Fast forward to his 35th birthday, and he did a couple of months of no drinking. He enjoyed it, but again went back to the normal grey area drinking. He wasn't really ready, he says. But around this time last year, he said, this is it. His wife rolled her eyes and said, I've heard it all before. But he said he's learned so much about himself in that time and answered so many questions that needed answering, and also opened up more. And he realizes that alcohol has been woven into the very fabric of his life. And at a very basic level, how can something that makes you apparently feel so good make you feel 10 times worse? Is it worth it? He decided it wasn't, and he's decided to open up completely and share what he's learned with others. We got him on because, part of that Strive Model for Change, stuck, is the phase where people get stuck. They just don't know how to quit alcohol. Lee's just gone through that just recently. So we got him on to talk about the stuck phase of the Strive Model for Change and, share his experience and to tell us how he got out of that. So without further ado, I'll shut the hell up and leave you in the capable hands of the sober runner, Lee Bonington. Lee Bonington, how's it going, my friend?
I'm okay, my friend. How are you?
That's good. That is a pretty impressive beard there, Lee.
I try. I've tried. It's my wife's doing. She told me 12 years ago, you should have a beard. And I said, no, beard's for old people. And then it became trendy. So I grew one, and it just turns out that I'm all right with it. They look quite good on me.
Pretty cool. Like I can't grow anything like that.
No, I'm quite lucky. It sort of grows in the bits here, and in fact, I'm pretty hairy all over, which is, I'm like a sponge.
I have an airy ass. That's about it. Not the most pleasantly appealing part of my body. But yeah,
I've got
hairy butt.
Hair all over. I'm hairy all over for quite a fair person, anyway.
I mean, it's interesting you talk about hairs actually, because we're gonna talk and focus today on why we get stuck. Yeah. When it comes to for people listening who don't know. The 1,000 Day Sober Experience, our workshop, if you like, that lasts 2.7 years and helps you get to 1,000 days sober, it splits down into 6 what we call phases of the Strive Model for Change. And that is stuck, thought, research, initiative, vigilance, and evolution. And the first phase is stuck. And it's a phase where we work with people who... There's 2 types of stuck people. There's my dad, right, who has no clue that he has a problem with alcohol, and he loves it, and he's never going to want to quit, but he's still stuck. He just hasn't got a clue that he is. And then you got people who know that they have got a problem, but they don't know what to do about it, and they just oscillate between drinking, stopping. Yeah. They kind of really don't know what to do. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I want to start by this hairy thing. It's a good segue into that.
The hairy thing being me, or
no? Well,
okay.
So I'll tell you. I understand. So when I was younger,
yeah,
I always had this issue of not fitting in, right? And I always felt like I was different to everybody because I was half Chinese, living in a predominantly white area. I was Mancunian, living in South Wales. And I was the last kid in my year to have a pube.
Right.
So I would be in football changing rooms looking around, and I would be the only bald one. There'd be people with bushes as impressive as your beard, and I wouldn't have anything. And the reason I'm raising that is it was massively, massively problematic for me, and you can add spots all over my back to that as well, right? So you're already a teenager, not quite sure where you want to be and what you want to do in the world. Add a load of spots on your back and your face and no pubes, and stick you in the masculine environment of a football changing room, and someone comes along and says, do you want a pint?
Yeah.
Are you really going to say no? It's just, to me, it's more than the world is set up as an addictive system for you to drink. It almost feels like it's ingrained in your your genes. Like people say, like, oh yeah, my dad's alcoholic. It's in his genes. Maybe it's in all of our genes that we feel this low self-esteem. Not to drink alcohol, but we all feel like we're so at odds with the world, and then addiction comes knocking, and it's no wonder we don't take a drink. Any of that relate to you at all when you were growing up?
Probably 99.9% of that. What you
Apart
just
from
said.
the pew.
Right, yeah. And coming from an East London area called Dagenham. I'm sure everyone knows Dagenham Motors and where Fords are and stuff. I went to a normal school. Drugs being dealt outside the playground, who's in News of the World and all that kind of stuff. Probably the drinking started probably earlier than it should have. Namely just over parks on a Friday night. And that could be because you look a bit old enough, you can get down the off license, and all you're doing is watching some people. Me personally, you're watching people a few years above you drinking. You're hanging about with girls, and to be fair, no sexist kind of comment, but girls back there, maybe now, I don't know, they were kind of forwards a little bit more than the boys. But again, like yourself, I played football too, and at a decent level, and I could have I was listening to your story on YouTube the other day. You could have gone a bit further, and I was doing really well at the time at Charlton's and little things like that and whatever. And also played music in a band. I played guitar in a band. So from that kind of age, I felt a little bit outside because it wasn't the kind of music that everyone that I knew at school was into. So I sort of kept that from everyone. I kept all my music and all my kind of stuff from everyone. And from that day, from keeping stuff back, it dawned on me, especially now when I look back, that I was going into an area with people, and the idea that I was going to be someone else instead of what was at my sort of under my core of what I really enjoyed. Same with you. My granddad was he was the vice president of the Dagenham Working Men's Club. Saturday night, his band's on. Every family from all over, Dagenham go down there. Everyone knows each other. Everyone drinks. The women go home a little bit early to take the kids, so the men can sit around and drink a little bit more and talk a load of bullshit, basically. So yeah, that's where I come from, and it sort of escalates from there, don't it? It sort of escalates from there.
Touch on let's probe this a little bit more. So what you were saying was you were getting into music and you liked the music side of it, but you at some point, so that's like who you are at the core. And I love it.
Definitely.
But you then started to behave in ways and get into things that were more aligned with the group or the tribe. Or was there a specific tribe you wanted to join when you were younger? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I really, really wanted to be a musician. But I don't know if it's just because of where you come from and the working class kind of side of it. And maybe at the age of, maybe if I was a little bit older, I could have thought about it a bit more. But I went to college straight from school and I was doing music, and all of my mates went out to work straight away. So I weren't. In fact, I was working in an off license on a Thursday night and a Sunday night, and I was only like 16, which is a bit weird. So first of all, I was in an off license, and I was doing my music, but I got sort of 6-7 months in, and everyone was earning money, and it was all going down the pub, and talking about lads' holidays and stuff like that. All my friends, and with all due respect to them, and I still see most of them now, and they're lovely people. I didn't want to do that. I knew in my heart and in my body that I didn't want to do that, and in my mind. But something must have just clicked and thought, oh no, man, I'm missing out here. I'm missing out on this money they're all earning, and I want to be part. I think I want to be part of that. And it must have been just, it was a choice then, really, and it probably wasn't the best choice. But maybe it was the right choice at that age, at 16, when I thought that's what I wanted. So I gave up the music. I carried on playing music, but not at a sort of academical side of it. And then, straight away you're into sort of manual work then. And then the years kick on, don't it? The years kick on, and you just end up going from sort of space to space, to job, until you realise, and you get to 37, really, I think. But there's space in between that I start thinking, I've thought a lot about things. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's definitely...
There's a part of that I want to pick apart a little bit, because it's a part of the learning that we go through in the 1,000 Days Sober experience. When you were talking about you had to make a choice about whether you was going to pursue what seems like your what we call a vocation, right? Your meaning and purpose, like being a musician, or you sell your soul to the devil to go and fit in and be like everybody else, type of thing. And then you said, I made a choice back then, and looking back now, maybe it wasn't the right choice, but then you said, but maybe it was at the time, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's this theory called resignation that's in a book called The Species of Denial by an evolutionary biologist from Australia called Jeremy Griffith. And it's about the human condition, right? So it's a big treatise on why human beings can be Mother Teresa and Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
How we've got extreme evil inside us and extreme good, and what that's all about. And he says that when you get to your teenage years, you've still got this kind of essence of child in you. And you've got this creative urge and desire. You've got the arts within you. You've got this playfulness that you want to do. And you've got love and kindness and happiness. And you've got all these kind of childlike qualities. And that is naturally who you are as a human being. But then the world doesn't want you to behave like that. Yeah. The world wants you to be an addict. The world wants you to fall in line. The world wants you to behave in a certain way. And then that manifests itself in our parents, in our teachers, in our leaders, in our football coaches. And then that comes down to our friends. And then everybody suddenly, there's all these white sheep going over here somewhere. And they're all doing these things that they're supposed to do to fit in. And we then experience this intense loneliness because we're the black sheep, right? And we have these conversations. Sometimes we remember having these conversations, and sometimes we don't. And it's around, I could be lonely right now and pursue my dreams, or I can give that up and be with the tribe. And what he says is the ones who find the ability to remain a black sheep, they become really exceptional, when they're older, but they go through an incredible amount of suffering. And then the ones who go with the crowd, they don't get that suffering, but they really find it difficult in later life because they're now lost, because they went down a road, they wore a mask, they put on armor, and they became completely unrelatable to anybody around them, And I think that links in perfectly with addiction, because you start to drink alcohol not because you want to, but because you feel you have to. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, I mean, going back on that, I sort of and being a I'm not a professional musician, but I sort of I loved art, and I loved to anything to do with kind of creativeness. I was interested in, and I always thought doing that I was an extrovert person, because I was life and soul of it all, and funny guy. Everyone knows Lee's a funny guy, and he's always up for a laugh and a joke. And I think when I think back now, if I carried on with what I wanted to do, because everyone see me as an extrovert, I actually thought I was an extrovert, and maybe being on my own doing music, I'd have to be really sort of insular and sort of on a lot on my own, like as you was just saying. So I think a little bit of I don't think it was peer pressure. They knew they was putting on, my friends and anyone really they was putting on me. I don't think they knew that, but they were sort of, every time they say, come out, you're so funny when you come out and drink, you make everyone laugh. That was like a sort of, oh man, maybe that's for me. maybe I am an extrovert. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this introverted musician thing on my own. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Well, the extroversion side of it is really important, because in our desire to fit in as a young man, especially working class, extroversion is seen as a stripe on the arm, isn't it? If we're an introvert, then we're a nerd. So we all have this capacity to vary on the introversion extroversion scale, but as young teenage boys, we really tip ourselves for extroversion, don't we?
But I knew that I was a thinker. You know, I knew I liked to be on my own, and I knew that writing songs and stuff like that, and anything creatively, is quite it's an intense sort of internal thing. So I I knew I was like that. But for some reason, it could be, again, it must be socially, culturally, whatever you want to call it. When I was getting fed this kind of, you've got to come out, you're so funny, this girl likes you because she thinks you're funny. I thought then that maybe I'm an extrovert, but deep down, that wasn't out yet for a long time. I realised that you can be, I can still be seen as an extrovert, because, weirdly, you have to sometimes do that, especially as you get older in certain situations. But I knew deep down as well that I wanted to be. I like being alone sometimes, in my own thoughts, and that's where I am today, obviously, with that. But yeah, it must become. I don't know. It's not just a working class thing. It's not. That's just silly to say that. But the stripe on the arm thing that you was just talking about, maybe that's that kind of. Like, I think I've heard the thing loads of times, fight or flight kind of thing. It's a fight thing. There's lots of people about that you've got to try and be bigger than or better than. Especially and I know coming from Manchester and whatever you are, and them sort of areas. That's the way you had to sort of be seen, I think. Otherwise, being an introvert, you get classed as something else sometimes.
I mean, I do think that the class issue plays a part, and this is going to sound massively controversial, right? Yeah. But when I think back to my working class roots, we were all pretty close-minded. There were certain traits we had. We were hardworking. We had serious opinions and judgments of anyone who wasn't in our class, particularly higher class. Yeah. In Manchester, we had a real issue with like the South. The South it's funny because the South was seen as being upper class. But there was.
There's not been to Dagenham,
there wasn't that culture of talking with your kids about life in a growth-oriented way. So, like, I got a 3-year-old now. We allow her to experience her emotions.
Yeah.
We try to help her do yoga. We try to help her meditate. We try to help her say grace before meals without even believing in God. We give her the option to believe in different faiths, all that kind of stuff. But when I was younger, it weren't like that. It was like, Lee, when you're 16, you're going to leave school and get a job because that's what we do, and we need your money in this house, right? Yeah. So surely, if you're in that class of people, you are likelier to become addicted than people who are outside of that class and are being educated more about life, feelings, loneliness, despair, and then you could be like, oh, I don't, like my daughter hopefully will be able to say, well, my dad doesn't drink. I don't need a drink. My dad doesn't drink. He's pretty cool. But when we were younger, everybody drank, I
mean, I'm sure my dad, hopefully my mum and dad listen to this. My dad was a drinker, but not like, again, we've all say all the time, not an alcoholic, but someone who would go to work, worked at a factory respectfully and bring home the money and pay for us to do everything we could. My mum worked 2 jobs, that kind of thing. But when I look back now, he got to. I can remember him getting to kind of 40. So Yeah. And my sisters are twins. They were younger than me, and my brother's older than me. So there's four of us. For a man who worked a shift work in the night, different shifts, and a mum who done two jobs to make sure he was okay, and then go down to the pub on the Friday and the Saturday. Also a big Fulham fan as well, so he used to go to Fulham, travel to Fulham every Saturday. That was his only outlet. His only outlet from getting away from four children and a job that he probably didn't like. And God bless him, he's still here with me, obviously. But him going to Fulham, or to watch football, and he would never have been able to go there if he wasn't drinking, because obviously it just wasn't seen to be done like that, And he'd get there and he'd drink, but he also had a lot of problems. Not drinking, he had emotional problems as well, so he had to, in the end, have some sort of some therapy and stuff. I'm glad. I'm hoping he listens to this. I really do. But he did, and he struggled. So he ended up working for the Royal Mail, and he had to go to therapy just to sort of stop and think for a minute, because he had some bad times. He had some terrible times, and I'm sure, like your parents, his dad was a drinker, and his dad was that kind of fella. So I don't know where that time has come, especially yourself with three, and I've got four children, and like my oldest is 18, but my youngest is 5 or 4. Sorry. How, I don't know where we've started now, and where we've got to that point where we start thinking for them differently. My 18-year-old, he doesn't drink. He's had a couple of drinks, and I had to pick him up the other month from drinking. It was, we went to a party. And luckily, he works in a gym and he keeps himself fit. I think he's sort of decided, no, it's not for me. It's really not for me. I don't like being out of control. And I don't think he's got the kind of friends that I had. Yeah. Again, respectfully, that would say, don't be such a fucking bitch. Get yourself out down this pub. We're going out. So yeah.
There's two things there to comment on. Is if you are watching this, Mummy and Daddy Bonington, I always kind of drag my mum and dad through this alcoholic muck, but at the end of the day, I'm very aware that they did the best that they could do with the very poor role models that they had when it come to parenting and love. Yeah. They got themselves into a spot where they had 4 kids. They're living in a council house. You ain't got a pot to piss in. Oh yeah, right. So I do think to my parents, what the fuck did you have 4 kids for when you got no money and you ain't got time to be with your kid? It's not like my dad was like, my mum and dad like the most loving. Like you get these people who love kids and like, let's have some more kids. My mum and dad, like, not so much my mum but my dad. It's like you don't want fucking kids around him. So why did he have them? So. So parents did the best that they could do. And I think the difference between now and back then, probably because of the internet,
maybe,
is that we are now more aware through science and through the ubiquitous nature of all this kind of information that's out there, that our kids are going to turn up like little versions of us. So if we are going to go to the pub every week and we are going to shut off our emotions and we're going to struggle and we're, going to behave in this way, then our kids are going to behave in that way. So that is why, like, it is massively important that if we don't want our kids to smoke, or we don't want our kids to drink, or we don't want our kids to take drugs, we don't do those things anymore. We've done them, but come on, like what respect is your kid going to give you if you're trying to tell him not to drink, if you're going down a pub every Saturday night?
Well, I sit here and again, you've got, a young daughter, was it? 3-year-old young daughter, yeah? What's her name?
Zia.
Ah, lovely name. I mean, my eldest has now seen me drink, he not very often, but he's seen me drink back in the day, and he's seen me drunk, and he's seen me in some silly ways. But my 11-year-old will probably go the rest of his life now not seeing me drink. And my daughter who's 7, she won't remember me drinking, and definitely my youngest will never even know that I've drunk.
Mm.
So I'm hoping in my head, you know, and I'm giving them a gift. That's what I'm doing.
Your gift that you're giving them is much greater than alcohol, because you stopping drinking alcohol means that you'll wake the fuck up and you'll start to think to yourself, what am I going to do for the next 60 years of my life? And you'll get stuck into it, and they'll see you failing to achieve your dreams, not just settling for life in a factory in Dagenham. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, we've all got to work. But there's nothing. Like, I worked on the railway for 20 years. Yeah, we've got to work, but there's nothing wrong with you saying, actually, I can work on a railway, but I can also travel around the world writing about poker. I just never even thought about that before because I wasn't thinking. But now I'm not drinking and I'm thinking, okay, let's give it a go. You know? Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to explain it to. I try and explain it to my wife. Well, I sort of talk at my wife, should I say? And I'll try and explain it to my friends as well. And they go, you know, I don't want to. They go to me, I don't want to change. And I say, oh, that's fine, that's fine. And they go, well, how do you feel now then? And I say, I can't explain to you the mist and the cloud that's sort of just, you know, disappeared out of anywhere, and stuff that I really didn't know that I liked. Really did not know how I felt. And really didn't know how far I could push myself. And all of a sudden, you know, I got up this morning, all right, we're on lockdown, I can do a lot more stuff because I'm not at work. But I got up and I thought, you know what, every half hour I'm going to do 20 sit-ups. And I've done that for about 7 hours. So, and I don't know why. But all I can say is I would never have done that if I was drinking last night on a bank holiday Monday.
Yeah.
That is it. And I've been for 4 months run today.
There you are, Lee. I didn't even know it was Bank Holiday Monday.
Well, no, I.
Right, because like when you stop drinking, days of the week don't mean anything.
Fantastic, isn't it?
I watched a talk by Alan de Botton, this philosopher from the School of Life. It was on loneliness and connection. I fucking loved it. He was on there for an hour talking about it, and he said there's absolutely no difference between staying at home and feeling lonely on a Saturday night or staying at home and feeling lonely on a Wednesday night. But the Saturday night will feel soul crushing because you've created a story. The Saturday night is different than Wednesday night, but it ain't no different. If you can stay at home Wednesday night, bored out of your mind watching Coronation Street or wherever you do, drinking sparkling water, why is Saturday any different? It's because we've created a story. That Saturday,
you know, watch EastEnders down in the south, don't you?
Well, I used to watch EastEnders in the north as well. But it's time is real. Time changes. Everything changes when you start drinking. How long have you not been drinking for? Let everyone know.
344 days. So I've got what is it? The 20 date? I can't remember what date it was. So I've got about 3 weeks. I've got about 3 weeks and it's been a year. But prior to that, I'd done a 3-month stint. And then prior to that, I'd done a dry January, you know, like everyone does. And then, but you know, at the end of it, you're going to get day drinking again. And it just eases the pain of my poor little liver and kidneys over Christmas. And then before that, I'd done is it Stoptober? Is it Stoptober? I do a Stoptober kind of thing. So I was in the garden today thinking about things that maybe I want to sort of say when you ask questions. I think the way I got to where I got to is it was a culmination of like years, to be honest with you. I had like a stint between the age of 17 to when did I make 24, where I went travelling and I'd done drinking. Well, most days was drinking, and then I come back and went on boys' holidays, and it was more drinking. And I'd done football and still played football Saturdays and Sundays, but it was basically just to go drinking. You know, Sundays were a whole day of getting up to play. Saturday was football, but at 2, drinking. Go home, early hours, get up, play football. Straight after that, go drinking. Football's on the telly.
Play football drunk.
Yeah, play football drunk. How I played football, I do not know sometimes, especially when I think about my nutrition now and the way I feel now. And then I met my wife, so who doesn't really drink too much anyway. She's not bothered whatsoever about drinking. She can take it or leave it, which is a lovely area to be in, I think.
Yeah.
But then she realised quite quickly that I like to drink. I didn't drink in the weeks indoors and cans. I know some people who might drink 4 or 5 cans a night. I just didn't do that. But I'd get to Friday or any I would go drinking. I'd celebrate to an opening of an envelope. You know what I mean? So I'd drink that kind of way, but I wouldn't know. I just wouldn't know when to stop. I just would not know when to stop. And I think about some of the things I think about, like the other, when my wife went away to a hen do, and I ended up going out after work, and I work in the construction industry. So I'm up London, someone's birthday, I had a drink, drink. And then I ended up in Fulham, or in East Putney, should I say, at my nan's house, which is basically the other side of London from where I was. And all I could have done was get on a train and go home that night. And I didn't. And I woke up and I thought, oh, shit. And I went, I've got to get home. So I went home, took me 2.5 hours to get home. And when I got home, I then realised that my wife was going on a hen weekend. And she went out and she just walked out the door. And that was it. Left me with I had 3 kids at the time. And hungover, 3 kids, wife gone away for the weekend. And when I think back now, I was an absolute arsehole to her. All I'd done was pester her for the whole weekend because of how bad I felt about myself and what I'd done and the guilt that I'd put on myself, because all I could have done was gone home. But that's just one story of what it does to me. And we've had so many. I honestly don't know how she's kept going with me, but maybe my boy, when he started playing handball, which is a great little sport, and he started playing at school and they won the nationals, and then he ended up on the sort of England setup, and I was just looking at him thinking, wow, what a picture of health,
Yeah.
And being from Essex as well, the only way is Essex and all that kind of thing. These kids around here, I'm not too sure about where you are, but the kids around here, they look after themselves, luckily, and I don't think drinking's part of their game. And my boy went on to do some nice stuff, and then I got into sort of nutrition. I don't know why, but but just prior to that, a few years before that, I'd started, slowly but surely trying to piece bits and pieces together.
We'll talk about the nutrition in a minute, but I'm interested in you did a 3-month stint, so that this is I assume when you're in the stuck phase, right, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. Why did you decide to stop for 3 months? Was there a rock bottom moment? Did something happen? And then how did it feel in the 3 months, and why did you drink again?
I'll be honest, I can't remember why I've done it, but I think it's because I'd done the Stoptober. So I'd done Stoptober, and then I knew Christmas was coming up. So,
right, let's rewind then. Why did you do Stoptober?
Probably, if I can recall it, it would probably be because I had a heavy night or a heavy weekend. And usually after a heavy weekend of drinking with friends, family, or whatever it was, I would be, on that train on a Monday morning, kicking myself to bits, saying, I know I don't want to do this no more. I know I don't want to do it.
Right.
And I'll be texting my wife. My wife knew when she'd get the text message on the Monday morning, I'll be on the train and I'll be thinking, I've got a week of hell because I feel like shit and I've done this to myself once again. So it was probably off of the back of a session, and then I'd done the Stoptober, and that month, I had so many people texting me again, how you getting on? How you getting on? Oh man, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. And I'm like, fucking what?
Where's your faith? Where's your faith in me?
It was 30 days, and but it was hard. And it was hard.
What did you find the most difficult about it?
Myself and looking, how do I say this? People judging me. You know, friends, mates of mine who all like a good drink, and you go around there to have a good drink and have a good laugh as such. So I was worried. I was worried about what people would think of me, and whether they want to be with, you know, someone who doesn't drink. And I suppose that goes back to the early days, teenage years, where I was doing something, but sort of over here was, you know, pulling me. So, I mean, it was hard. I've got to admit, it was hard.
It sounds like it's like the typical paradox of addiction, where you feel in your gut, you're basically a reluctant drinker, right? You feel in your gut that this isn't right. You try to do the October sober, but you're worried what other people will think. So you're worried about being alone and disconnected. Yeah. But what we don't realize is when we drink, we become more lonely and disconnected. Yeah. So it's like such a paradox, right? Yeah.
Monday morning, I was alone. You know, I was on the train going to work, and I was alone. And I don't want to. I was trying to say this to my wife. I don't want to bat on about it and say, you know, I was hard done by, and I was so depressed and whatever. But that usually on that Monday morning, if I'd had a good drink over the weekend, especially if I'd missed Sunday night football, because I love playing football. And I like the feeling of motion, and I like the feeling of being around sport. So if I'd missed it, and I'd beat myself up about it the next day, because that's where I wanted to be, and that's how I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel like my heart was racing because I just played football or any kind of sport. But yeah, that Monday morning was lonely, and being like that, I'd rather have not been like that and just been back to a Saturday night with your friends, because you don't feel on your own. You know,
I'm going to switch this back to me a little bit, and then you can tell me if there's any parallels here. So, because I think this is a real good learning point for people listening. I want to focus on the loneliness a little bit and connection. So, you know, you said, for example, there that what the reason that you didn't want, the reason that the Stocktober was hard was effectively you were worried that you'd be alone. So like your friends would leave you. Taking a piss at you is not nice anyway, but ultimately they leave you and you've got no friends, right? So, and then you said that you would feel really lonely. So you'd go out with them on the weekend, and and then the loneliness would kick in on a Monday, right? Now, for me, what I realized looking back is that the loneliness didn't kick in for me on a Monday. The loneliness was always there. So bear with me a minute. So I had this decision about whether I'm going to drink or not. And I don't want to drink, but I'm worried that if I don't drink, I'll be alone. So I drink, right? Thinking I'm not going to be alone. But I am alone. Because though I'm with them, and I'm drinking with them, and I'm laughing with them, and I'm putting my head through a window with them, and I'm having sex with women in toilets with them, I'm not really with them, because that's not who I am.
No.
Right? Sure. So I'm learning now you can be intensely lonely surrounded by people you love. Yeah. Because they don't know who you are, and you're not confident and courageous enough to be who you are. So for me, it was more than just, I'm lonely now, I've got an hangover. I just didn't realize at the time that I was never alone. Do you know how I know it now? I'm not friends with any of those people anymore.
So you just saying that, you know, you actually saying that to me is just literally, you know, I've just told you that I was alone on a Monday, but when I think about it now, I was alone in my head because I knew that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah. So that's, I suppose, yeah. I mean, that makes sense, really. I can't. Lonely. That was not nice, and it wasn't nice to even. Yeah, some day when I was out and we was drinking with friends and that, I just knew, and that's no disrespect to anyone that I know, because they're all lovely people, but I was completely lying to I've been lying to myself for so long, completely lying to myself, and lying to my own soul, which is strange.
I think our friends can be. I think it's fair for us, and I think it's fair for us to acknowledge toxic environments and toxic people, for the lifestyle we want to lead. But that doesn't mean they're bad people. So my friends are toxic people for me because the things that they like to do and what they're interested in, it derails me.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me go. It makes me want to do what they're doing. So that's toxic to me. But they're still lovely people, but they're just not my people.
Yeah, I spoke about that with my wife in the garden a couple of hours ago. We were just sitting there chatting, and it sort of came up that I said to her, do you think that people want us to be out anymore with them? And she said, what are we talking about? I said, do you think do they see it all a little bit differently and maybe won't get invited to places? I know we're in lockdown and no one's being invited to anywhere.
Yeah.
But, I still sometimes think that. But I have learned to brush that aside a little bit and say, because I'm sure you go to a party and an hour in, 2 hours in, most people couldn't give a shit if you're drinking or not. They really couldn't. No. They really couldn't. They're in their own little element. I've done it on New Year's Eve, and I was really worried about this New Year's Eve because we was going out to a local football club. Everyone was there, all the friends, all the kids, and I was really worried that night because it was the first big night out really that I'd had that was a drinking night, New Year's Eve. But I got to kind of 11 o'clock, and I looked around and I thought, they really couldn't give a shit if I was drinking or not.
No. It's more than that, Lee. Think about it. Think about this.
Go on.
This is a really important point for people listening, folks. Gold nugget just slipped out of Lee's mouth. He said that they couldn't give a shit if he was drinking. No, they couldn't give a shit that he existed. Yeah, now, this is really important, folks, right? Yeah. We think we had this deep connection with our friends. We think that deep connection is lubricated and assisted or needed to have alcohol with it. But you need to understand that when you drink alcohol, you become disconnected from people. You become very selfish, become very self-centered, and you it's almost like your body and your soul is overtaken by some demon. It's back in the temperance movement of the United States, right? When they had prohibition, they actually thought genuinely that alcohol was a devil, that like when you drank, the devil took over your soul. And Zara Sita, who's been a guest on the Alcohol Addiction podcast, she wrote a brilliant article about how when she goes to nightclubs, she sees these souls tethered to the bodies. And then they've been invaded by these different demons. Now, think about, I'm not saying demons exist, folks, but I rang my mum the other day on Zoom, right? I rang my mum on Zoom the other day, and she came on, and I got really upset because she was drunk. And when I look at my mum when she's drunk, she changes physically.
Yeah.
One eye looks up here, one eye's down here. She looks older. She looks like a witch. She looks nasty, and she talks different. And I don't like it. It's like a different person, right? And we want to be connected to that. Of course we don't. When we're sober, we realize we don't want to be connected to it at all. So the reason we're drinking is because we are terrified of being alone with these people.
Yeah.
Like compost mentis, right? It's like...
No, man, my wife used to sort of go, you've had a good drink? And I'll go, no, I haven't. I'm fine, thank you very much. That's what I'd say all the time. I say, I'm fine, thank you very much. She said, well... your right eye says something different. My fucking eye, used to hang down by the edge of my chin.
Yeah. It's like wrong, isn't it?
It's weird. And so she knew straight away if I'd had a drink, even if it was a couple. My eye just seems to sort of go. So that's very strange you should say that. Yeah, that's made me laugh at as a little bit.
I mean, taking that to COVID, I'm using my mum and dad as an example. Purely because it's just a good example, I guess, right? Yeah. So my mum and dad are now stuck in the house, can't go out anywhere, right? So here are two incredibly lonely people stuck in the house with each other, with no way of communicating with each other.
Yeah.
That terrifies them so much, they drink alcohol. They don't drink alcohol so they can connect. They drink alcohol because they're terrified of connecting.
Yeah.
And they're forced, it's almost like the world is forcing them to connect. And they're looking at each other on the sea and I don't know what to say to him. Give me a fucking beer quick. Not so they can talk to him, but so they can just get lost in their own world.
I totally agree. What you're saying there sort of resonates with myself and my wife. You know, when I decided to do this, she was more than happy. I mean, she was like, "Yeah, man," but she'd heard it all before as well. So I was when I started getting right into the sort of 6 months and what have you, I then really thought to myself, well, what if I become different? What if I become a little less talkative, a little less interesting because I'm not drinking, and she doesn't like me, and it's not the bloke that she married, not the fun-loving kind of guy, you know, who's like a good drunk. I wasn't a horrible drunk, by the way, but you know, a good drunk. But she said no. She said I don't want that person. I want the man that I know when I wake up in the morning and have breakfast with. That's the man I want, not the one that I've got to freaking put my arm around and try and get me into bed, that kind of one. So the connection side of it, in a strange way as well, though, I quite like the fact that maybe I'll be a little bit disconnected from people, not in a horrible sense, but maybe it'll open up a few sort of truths about really what I thought about people, because we don't connect on a level up if we're not drinking. You know, I don't know. Yeah, that's a strange one. But yeah, I'll try and unravel that myself somehow.
I mean, I had this conversation with my boy yesterday. He's 18, right?
Okay.
So he's been having problems with his mum drinking. And he rings me up every now and then, crying in a fit of despair.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of days, I'll let him kind of calm down, and I'll say, let's have a chat about it. And he'll say, nah, it's all right, Dad. No, it's okay now. So I rang him up and I said, you know, I was going to talk about your mum, and he's like, no, and he's playing on his video game, right? She's like, no, not really. So I'm like, okay. He said, I just want to chill, Dad, like Saturday, what chill? Okay. So I'm like, so what are you up to? What are you up to then? Oh, you know, working out. Anything else? No. How's work going? No, it's all right. You know. Yeah. And then I said, do you want me to call you back another time? Oh, no, you carry on talking to me if you like. I went, actually, I will call you back another time. So I put the phone down and I went for a walk, and then I left him a long message. And this is what I basically said to him was, for me, you find connection in sharing your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Not in talking about your strengths. And if I call somebody up or have a conversation with someone, and I'm talking about the weather, or I'm talking about Call of Duty, or I'm talking about, you know, how Fulham did last night, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with like how Fulham did last night, but that's it.
Yeah.
I get disconnected from someone. But if I'm able to say to someone, hey, how's it going? And they say, really shit. Why is that? Why is it so shit? It's shit because I'm really struggling with Ralph. Like, I just can't connect with him, and I feel really bad as a dad as a result. Now I'm connected to you because you're being vulnerable, you're being open, and I can go, wow, I'm really struggling with Zia right now. Now we're connecting, and our relationship and our love for each other is going to grow. We're going to trust each other more, and our relationship is going to build up, right? We don't have those conversations when we're drinking alcohol. You don't have them. What happens is you get pissed and you fucking slur over each other and spit over each other and slaver over each other and talk shit and offload stuff without any boundaries that you don't even remember you're doing, right? So for me, it's like, look, when you stop drinking alcohol, your relationship is going to change with people, and especially your wife. And don't think it's going to be all roses, mind. I fight tooth and nail with Liza, and the reason is because none of us drink, so we feel our feelings.
A bit more, yeah. You're not numb to them.
No, you know? So you have to deal with a lot more shit that comes up.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I have dealt with so many feelings and thoughts, and we've probably had a few more arguments than what I thought we had with me not drinking, but quicker do we get over them. You know, drinking and rowing and about drinking just takes forever because for me, again, back to the Monday mornings and stuff like that, every few days after that, I'll still have the ump. So I've not only got the ump myself, I've had it around my missus, and that just leads to more and more and more. But we've had arguments, and we still do over kids, money, everything you can think of. But my thought process, my thought trail is a lot clearer. So usually I would have gone off, or go off on it, and go, no, I'm going to be great. But now I sort of take a deep breath and think, I can't be fucking arsed, man. I'm going to walk away from it.
I fucked that right up.
Yeah.
How many times do you say to yourself, I fucked that right up?
Yeah. So I just walk away now, and then we sit down quietly more and talk about things. Like today we sat there, we had a few things to chat about, and we got them out, little bits and pieces, and that feels good. That felt so much better. And it's a big journey. It's a big journey for me, but it's great.
I just want to rewind a little bit before we finish. When you did the 3 month, you did the October thing, and you did the 3 month.
Yeah,
I'm interested in learning before I let you go. How did the 3 month experience feel? Why did you drink again? And then what changed? How did you jump from what I call a stuck phase to the action phase, and now you're in what I call the vigilance phase? How did you get there? What happened?
So the 3 months went really, really well, to be honest, because I think I was getting closer and closer to processing what it was going to take for me to stop drinking, who I was going to piss off, who I know was going to stand next to me, whether I was drunk or not, the people that I knew love me, and also I visualised. I literally visualised in my head where I want to be when I'm fucking 65 years old, 70 years old, where I want to be and how I want to feel. So I had that in my head, but I got to the end of that 3 months. I don't know why. I'm not too sure why it was 3 months. Maybe I'm not too sure. I think I might have seen the 90 days thing with Andy Ramage, who lives not far from me. Funny enough. I think I see that on the internet, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to give that a go, whatever it is. I'm not going to get involved, but I'm going to give that a go. And I did that, and then I remember going down to our local sort of social club with our friends, and I hadn't been drinking. Everyone knew I wasn't drinking, which was okay. But that day, I had it in my head, I'm going to have a drink. And I don't know why, but I sat there with my wife, and I sat next to my wife the whole day. And the blokes are up the bar doing what we usually do, standing at a bar and watching the football, shouting and screaming at the TV. And I sat with my wife all day, and I didn't move out of her fucking sight, because every time I had a drink, I kept saying to her, "Is that all right?" And she'd go, "Yeah, you're all right." Yeah, she never told me not to, because she was not a bad drunk. I know how much you struggle after. So, and then I had another one, and I said, "Is that all right?" She went, "Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry." And I'd done quite a few drinks that night. But when I woke up that next morning, I didn't feel bad or grog or anything. I sat next to my wife the whole night, going, "Is that all right? Is that all right?" Because I wanted her to say, I actually wanted her to say, "No, fucking stop. I don't want you to do no more."
You needed help.
Yeah, I needed that for her to say stop, but she didn't, because she doesn't. Because I think she was quite good in it. She said, "You want to do it yourself. I ain't going to tell you to stop, because if I tell you, it doesn't matter."
Did you do this yourself then, or through willpower?
I've done this all willpower, and I got up that day and I said, never again. And I can only put that down to, as I said, I think maybe for me, everyone's different, but the culmination of those years of knowing I didn't want to do it, but then, especially with the kids and the wife and your job, and feeling like crap, getting up in the morning feeling like crap, and you've got 3 kids still to 4 kids to look after, it became a bit monotonous, and it became a bit boring to me. And also, I've become very comfortable in my life. I got too comfortable with it all. And I thought, shit, this ain't pushing myself. This ain't me living. I ain't doing this. I ain't living up. This ain't what I am. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to get up on a Saturday morning and think, fuck, I've got to take my boy to football. Oh, my head's hurting. I don't want to. I want to wake up and go, I'm taking my boy football this morning. I cannot wait. I'm taking my daughter dancing today, and I cannot wait. And I still want that energy when I get home to make dinner. And I still want to get up the next day and play football myself. And then I want to get home Sunday night, and I'll sit down and watch a film with my wife, and then go to bed and get up on Monday morning and feel fucking awesome. And that sort of really hit home. And I said it to my wife, and she looked at me and she said, "I've heard it all before, Lee. I've heard it all before." You know, and I thought, she has. She must have heard it 1,000 times now, and you know. But I literally knew in my heart. I knew in my head that this is what I wanted to do. And I'd passed my nutrition, my level 3 nutritional sports nutrition course. I didn't know how I was going to use it. I still don't know how I'm going to use it. But it gives me something to go, you know what, fucking hell, man, it's the first thing you've done since you've left school, where you've put your head down and done something, and it meant something to you. So that pushed me on. And luckily, and I think I just think it was because I was ready, and I've got the bollocks to do it, and I know I have, and it's just realising you've got the bollocks to do it.
One question on that: if we go all the way back to where this started, and your journey seemed to start like most young lads in the UK, it came from a kind of almost like, this is a rite of passage. We're going to drink, everybody drinks, but then when you try to stop, you think to yourself, I'm going to be lonely, people aren't going to like me. So where are you on that now?
I like me. That's where I am. I like me. And I didn't realise how much I like me. And I like the fact that I'm quite quiet, not as in quiet, I still have fun and do all sorts of silly things, and I'm quite loud with the kids and having fun, but I mean quiet in my head, I can sit there for hours and just think about stuff. And I'm quite happy with myself more than anything. I'm happy I'm not drinking, obviously, but I'm happy that people might like me, they might not. They might like me for drinking. That's fine. If you like me when I was drinking, great. But if I'm not drinking, then you don't like me. There's nothing I can do about that.
Did you realise? Because I got a lot of people on Strive who are in the same spot you used to be.
Yeah.
Who are worried that their friends won't like them. So I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting did your feedback match your perception? So you had a perception that your friends wouldn't like you.
Mm.
Did that happen? And did you not give a toss, or did that not happen?
No, I've got, a lot of the fellas I grew up with at school are still my friends now. We've got our WhatsApp groups and we all still see each other. And it was all about drinking. So I was worried about that. But it just turns out that I'd say 99% of them all turned to me and said, "Lee, we've known you 20 years, man. We don't need you just for drinking. We like you always, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, we like." I've noticed that peripheral people that you may not see a lot, and a lot of people at work. I'm a project manager on a construction site, and there's a lot of people that I like, and you talk to, and you feel that you might have to go for a beer with. All of a sudden, they swerve you.
Yeah.
But really, you couldn't give a shit.
And they're not. This is important. They're not swerving. They're not swerving us. This is really important because we get into this mindset that obviously I don't know this is true, but this is my thought, is they're not swerving us because they don't like us. They're swerving us because it makes them look at themselves.
Yes, without a doubt. That's definitely, maybe that was the wrong word to use, but yes. It basically, you're putting a mirror in front of them, and a lot of them, it makes them question themselves. I've said this at the start to my wife about this, people at the start they may have been a little bit, fucking hell, Lee's not drinking, you know what I mean? And they might look at you, fucking hell, here he comes, with his non-drinking, my wife's going to fucking love him.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it makes it, I suppose, in a weird way, it makes them look at each other themselves. And if that, my mate said it to me the other day, my one of my best pals, he said, I don't want to change. I said, I'm not trying to change you. I said, but he also said, we was running, and maybe he said, I don't want to change, but something that you're doing might just spark something in me.
Mm. Yeah, just be the role model you can be for your kids, for your wife. Yeah.
Something, and for him to even just say it, there was a little seed sown there. I know there was, So I don't. It doesn't bother me what he does, but as long as they understand why you're doing it, and maybe Yeah, I understand.
And you're coming to like a year now. Do you ever get triggered to drink?
I had again, I had a trigger today. I was sitting there. It's obviously a lovely day down in sunny Essex, and I'm off work, and the kids have got the pool thing out, and I was on a sun lounger, and I thought, oh man, I could smash a beer. And I did. And I thought to myself, my wife, I just thought myself, fucking go and get a beer. And she went, really? I said, yeah. I said, and every time the barbecue comes out, I feel like I've got to have a beer. But luckily, I know those feelings pass. I think that for a few seconds, like a bit of a smell or something, you think, that'd be cool. Yeah. I'm a bit worried about the football coming back. I wasn't looking forward to Euros this year because it all becomes about drinking, down a pub and stuff.
Well, because it's nostalgia, isn't it? You think back to your old, New York night. Are you old enough to remember 96?
Yes, I am. I've been watching it on ITV.
Yeah. So, I remember getting World Cups and European champs, just getting smart. I remember the worst one was, I think it was Korea.
Yeah, was that 2002?
It was early in the morning, so like the game was on like 8, 9. So you'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get smashed for the game, and then the game would finish at 10, and you had the entire day ahead of you with a hangover, or you just drunk all day. It's fucking
I'm crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our friend's dad he owned the pub, and he just said, like, come, you might as well stay the night. And we stayed the night and then watched the football.
Yeah.
I haven't got the energy no more to do that.
No. Lee, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Really appreciated learning more about you. Well done. What you've done, it's not easy. And thank you for being a role model for, like I said, your children, your wife, your mates, and everybody listening to this podcast. So thanks for joining us.
Not a problem, man. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Addiction Podcast. Now, before you run away, just a few things, okay? So, the next time we run the 1000 Day Sober Experience, our program that guides you and helps you to become 1000 days sober. So that's 2.7 years, folks, right? It's the only long-term program in the world where we're with you constantly to help and guide you through the 6 stages of the Strive model for change. We get you through being stuck. We get you through thinking and the ambivalence around drinking alcohol. We get you through the research phase of making some change. We get you through the change. We manage you through that change. And then after that, with alcohol in the rearview mirror, we help you to evolve, to live a fulfilled life, to do that incredibly important post-recovery work, which so many people, so many organizations out there dismiss or just don't even cover at all, right? So we got you back for 1000 days. The next time we run an experience will be in July. But do not wait until then. The best thing that you can do right now is to get over to www.1000dayssober.com and sign up to be a member of Strive today. Okay, it is £40 a month subscription. That includes the 1000 Days Sober Experience. It includes online workshop. It includes online meetings. It includes guidance from our ambassadors. It includes one-on-one meetings with our incredible Strive coaches who are skilled at a vast array of important elements of your life that are going to drive up and increase your physical and mental health. And by joining now, you get used to the environment, you get used to the community, you get used to the people, and by the time July comes along, you'll be firing on all cylinders, kind of roaring to get into the 1000 Days Sober Experience. So do that today. Really, really important. If you want to get the show notes for today, the show notes are exceptional, folks. You get the show notes from today's episode. You want to get a full transcription of today's episode, and you want to get a special workbook that will give you some fun and interesting questions based on today's episode that you can help, that will one-up your life, right? Then get over to www.1000dayssober.com. You will find the link there and sign up, give us your email address, and we will give you these things free of charge, okay? And on that £40 a month, if you do not have the money, if you are struggling financially, then email me at thetruthaboutalcohol@gmail.com and we'll figure something out. Do not let money get in your way of becoming 1000 Days Sober. And just because we go 1000 Days Sober, right, don't be worried about that if you're not quite ready to quit yet. The first stage of the Strive Model for Change is called Stuck. The second stage is called Thought. And we do not expect you to stop drinking whilst you're doing that work. And that will take you a good 4 to 5 months. So you get a lot of grace. We will meet you where you're at in your addiction to alcohol. Don't worry about that, okay? We take on everybody. People who are desperately trying to stop drinking and people who are stopped drinking and they just want help putting their life back together, okay? Lastly, if you enjoyed listening to Alcohol Addiction Podcast, then please rate and review it on your local provider, whether that will be Apple or SoundCloud or whatever. Just give us a nice review and some nice stars. You can find us on Instagram at 1000dayssober.com or 1000 Days Sober, and you can find us on YouTube 1000 Days Sober as well. All right, take care of yourselves, folks. Ciao, ciao.